Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight I'm going to discuss financial New Year resolution, which means that I'm here in the light of the crisis, the challenges, the cost of living crisis that most of us are facing. It's important that sometimes we discuss some of these areas that affect the livelihood of most people who are members of this platform. So tonight I'm not discussing law. I must admit that everything that I discuss here is for guidance only, and under our policy, if you want to obviously seek proper financial advice, then I urge you to do so. But in any event, I'm going to take my time to discuss what we mean by new financial year resolution, which means that we've entered a new year, so you may want to put some roadmaps in place. We know that we are facing cost of living crisis, and therefore people must also understand when they get a certain stage and there is so much financial burden, sometimes there could be assistance, there could be other recourse to public funds that they should access. So you see that I always say that most times these things is legal choice, which means that you say need to know you are right. So I'm going to look at financial resolution, New Year financial resolution. But in the context of it, I will also be able to point people to areas that they can also seek assistance legally so that they will be able to cushion the burden of the financial crisis. So as I do always, I want to urge you to obviously share the link with your friends and family members. Let them be aware that I am here tonight at this time to discuss new financial year resolution with everyone who is fortunate to join us tonight. And I'll look at this in the context of what is happening. So please don't let your friends and family miss out on this. I'm sure you're going to learn much. For those of you who don't know me, in most cases I am here to explain the law, but I must also admit that I have huge qualifications in finance, MSc in finance, so I'm in a position, but I'm not here to give financial advice. I'm in a position to give some explanation of some of the things that is happening and how people can also support themselves by relying on the law. So I'm combining the two to ensure that people can get this support and free advice. So please make sure that you share the link with your friends and family members. I'm going to go on a short commercial break to enable you out there to share the link, because I'm also going to do the same. And when I come back, I will take my time to explain the roadmap of your financial year resolution. And obviously, I'm sure by the time I leave here, most of us are going to learn a lot from what I'm going to discuss tonight. So please don't go away. Stay with me. once again, and thank you so much for your patience. As we obviously enrolled out from the beginning of the year that the program is not just going to be centered on just law, that we'll also be looking at other areas that affect the livelihood of the members of this platform. So tonight I'm going to look at the new financial year resolution for yourself and some of the things that we can consider in the light of the cost of living crisis that we have been facing tonight. I remember that in between 2008 and 2007 to precise, to 2008, we got a peak of what they call financial crisis. And now we have cost of living crisis. So there is, you can see that there is a slight distinction between the two. During that time when I was doing the thesis, I have to look at some of the causes of this financial crisis. But I'm not here to bore you with my financial background. I'm here to look at a new financial year resolution for yourself. So then we had the financial crisis in 2008, and now we have the cost of living crisis. So you see that the word crisis cuts across. And if you look at it, you see that we have interest rate cutting across the middle. Those of you who are familiar and who perhaps were aware when we had this financial crisis and how people have to lose their houses and all that, and massive foreclosure or repossession of houses, and how government have to step in to bring in place what we have quantitative easing, meaning that making sure that interest rates was subdued to the point that it was so low, and government bailing out banks, obviously making sure that there is not foreclosure, people receiving support, and it looks like from 2008 to 2022, we are now in 2023, there is a flashback of what has happened. But tonight I am here to discuss financial resolution, which is something I'll call the roadmap. Now all of us obviously needs to have some form of New Year resolution. I'm sure some of us who are Christians may say that, okay, maybe if we pray every Friday, now I want to pray maybe 3 times a week. If we fast once a week, maybe perhaps now I want to fast 3 times a week. Some of us may also want to set up our goals, especially the women. They want to make sure that they can lose weight and be fit. So some may say that I want to go to the gym 3 times a week instead of going once a week. And most times when we start on a very good note from the beginning of the year, and eventually there's a relapse, and then everything gets falls into disarray. So the same manner, we need to also look at finances. But more importantly, when it comes to finances, it's always very, very difficult to manage, in the sense that sometimes one may lose his or job. So there could be other vicissitudes of life that may affect people that may not be able to fulfill their financial goals. But more importantly, especially when we are having cost of living crisis, then of course it is quite important that we need to set out, because most of us may end up being swallowed by debts if we don't set up a roadmap on how to manage our finances. So tonight, and these are stuff that normally are not taught in schools. These are not taught in schools, and even those of us who did economics and finance up to master's level, you realize that most of these things are quite practical, that it takes the ordinary person to be able to discipline himself or herself in order to be able to maintain that trajectory of fulfilling that financial goal. We all can set different goals. So tonight, by looking at financial resolution for the year, and I've already said that it's so important that we do that because of the fact that we are now in financial crisis. And I always say that why we are in financial crisis and why most researchers are confirming that in the UK there is going to be a recession and it's going to be deeper and longer. So it means that we need to tighten our belts. And it's for this reason that I'm doing some of these shows. And I'm sure most of you out there are going to benefit from it. I am not a prophet of doom. I'm just announcing to you the reality. So you find out that why we are having most of these problems, especially in the UK, is I always say that there are three factors, one of which is Brexit. Now we have a shortage of labor, which means that most of the time, I'm going to come there very soon, we also have the Ukraine crisis, which have obviously caused energy prices to go up so astronomically, and people are now having a lot of challenges, even heating their homes, buying fuel to drive around. And when in our basic economics, we say that whenever there is an elastic demand for things like petrol, then you find out that whenever there is increase in price, it affects everything, because it affects transportation, it affects production of goods, it affects delivery of goods from France to Germany, from France to the UK. So you see that prices of goods and services go up. And that is what causes inflation. And that's why we are having inflation. Tonight, as I was coming to this studio, when I was reading the Financial Times, it was quite clear that inflation is now 10.7. And obviously it means that the interest rate has to go up, because otherwise it will keep rising. And the interest rate going up means that we are tightening the quantitative easing, which is the financial stimulus that was put in place right from the financial crisis. And this dates back many years, when we had this where interest rate came so low, and now it's going up, and people are feeling the pain by paying their mortgages, because interest is going up, mortgages are becoming higher. And especially during the COVID, when interest rate was so low because of the cooling off of the market. Now, most people who tied in 3 years fixed mortgage is coming to an end. It means that most people are going to have a lot of challenges, and I'm going to point them to some of the support that they can receive when their fixed rates come to an end. They are having difficulty paying these mortgages. So all this background that I'm giving means that we need to have financial resolution, a roadmap to put in place, so that obviously when these challenges are unfolding, then we have a mechanism or a system in place to manage it, such that we don't get swallowed by debt. But to start with, I'm going to look at those of us from the bottom who have difficulties in managing our debts. And then eventually, because I'm sure that even though there is financial crisis, not everybody that may be feeling it. Some people are doing very, very well. But I'm going to start with those of us who may be having difficulties, having debt problem because of this. Now, normally, how would one be aware that they're having some of these debt problems? Especially in the UK, most of us will rely on credit cards, will rely on sometimes overdrafts. So it means that whenever there is a shortfall, if we are working and we are not unable to pay our bills, we dip into our overdrafts. Whenever we are having difficulties and we need to buy some non-discretionary purchases. When I say non-discretionary purchases, where you have no choice other than to pay it. For example, you have to pay your bills, otherwise your meter will be cut off. So sometimes we resort to credit cards. So you find out that if you are the type that have these debts, then of course, because of the cost of living crisis, these debts are more likely to go up. So it means that you need to set in place a financial plan. And that plan may mean that you have to make a decisive choice of managing your debts. Because if you have debts, then it means that the debts is going to even more increase. Because the cost of living simply means that if you couldn't afford to pay your bills and buy the stuff that you need, then of course, now that those prices are going up, you are even going to be able to fall on the credit card and you are overdraft more. it means that you're going to get into debts. But of course, I'm going to advise people how they can get support when they get to that point. So the barometer for checking whether you're having debt problem, and some of us from Africa, sometimes we go to friends, can you please give me 50 pounds, 100 pounds? So the more you're asking people to loan you every month, brother, it means you're having a problem. You're having a financial problem. But of course, I'm going to point people to charities and other organizations who can assist. So when you obviously living here lawfully and you have credit card and overdrafts and you're having all these problems, it doesn't matter, you might not be a homeowner. Of course, because mortgage rates are going up and landlords need to pay more. Most of us have to also pay more rent because our rent has to increase to match obviously the mortgage that landlords are paying. Because of course, cost of living is going up. If you are paying your rent inclusive, then of course landlord is paying more gas bills and more electricity bills. So of course they are going to also increase their rent to the extent that it will cover the cost of these bills. So a lot of us, whether we are a homeowner or a tenant, you are going to face similar challenges. But whenever you get to the stage where you are relying more on overdraft and credit card, and I'm sure that most of us even used to do it before we came to this position where we are now facing cost of living crisis, quite distinct from the financial crisis we had in 2008. So whilst these credit card bills are going up and the overdraft bills are going up, then it means that we are getting ourselves into debt. So when you get to that stage of your life, what do you do? People don't know that, especially those of you with no recourse to public fund. Sometimes when I tell clients, oh, I am working, so I can't get benefit. Don't be stupid. Even if you are working and your cost or your expenditure is far more than your revenue, that in itself is a grounds for you to obtain recourse to public fund. And it doesn't matter whether you have children or you are single. So whilst you have these credit card bills, you have obviously overdrafts increasing because of the fact that all of us are aware of the cost of living because of the energy prices going up. And inflation, which I will take my time to explain quite briefly. So it means that you may be eligible to claim some form of benefit. But the advantage of getting this benefit is means that especially in April, when energy price goes up for almost 20%, those of you on benefit, we are going to get about 90% support. So you see why getting universal credit or some form of benefit is very, very, very important in the sense that it's linked to the energy crisis and what rebate you can even get from the government. So you find out that if you're having a debt problem, the first point is that it doesn't matter whether you are working full-time, you can still have a debt problem because you are working full-time and you are still relying on credit card and overdraft, and it's so common. All of us go through that stage in life. So apart from getting recourse to public fund, there are also charity organizations that provide food. I remember when I was training, we had a center where clients come to us and they will find out that they have difficulty even paying our fees. We didn't then have fee waiver. We have to point them to some charity organizations that provide free food to them. And these people are willing to provide this free food when we direct them to those centers. So there are charity organizations who are willing to provide, because not everyone is going through this financial crisis. Some people have in abundance. And if you go to when the bean driver is driving around, you see the kind of wastage that they keep collecting. And because this charity organization collects some of these foodstuffs and keep them for people who need them quite urgently, these helps are also available. But more importantly, if you go to the Citizen Advice Bureau, they are very good at also providing that advice because they can obviously assess your financial position and know that you are in debt. Some of these debts can be cancelled, some of them can be consolidated, and above all, they can also give you proper advice, which is also free. It doesn't matter whether you are living here lawfully or you are waiting for your papers. This support is free of charge. And of course, in banking where we have an office, they say provide us support, because some of us have also worked there. Even my colleague has worked there in the past, where we're doing some of these things to support people who are going through all these challenges. So these helps are out there for those of you who are having debt challenges. But above all, you probably also have to look at the fact that if you're having these challenges, then you need to also have a roadmap. Apart from all these helps that I've pointed out to people, probably you also need to have a budget. Now, do you know that most of us, if you go through the amount of direct debits that we have in place, that are always taking money from our account, most of them, if you do an order of preference or priority of services that we need, some of them can be cancelled, and we have this auto renewal that they keep taking up these things from our accounts when in fact we don't even need those services. So sometimes we need to revise the things that we are spending money on. And we can do that by looking at our bank. One time I had a friend, he said he was going through financial crisis. I said, look, the first point is that print your monthly bank statement or 3-month bank statement. Go through it and identify the things you are spending money on. And especially the direct debit. Some of them, you don't even need those services. So you need to just get rid of them. Once you have gotten rid of them, at least you are making some savings, which in a way will help you to save some money towards paying some of your debt. But more importantly, if you are doing monthly budget, because all of us go to the supermarket to shop, to make sure that we buy food and we buy the things that we need that perhaps may last us for a month, and some people do it weekly. These days we do just touch and go, where we don't even take receipts. Probably you have to make sure that you get some of these receipts, put them in a bowl somewhere. So if you do that for about a week, you take those receipts at the end of the week and go through it and see where your money is going. Because sometimes you might not have a system in place where you can even log into your bank account to see where this money is going. But if you have the paper receipt, and being local like me, then of course you'll be able to assess where your money is going, and you'll be able to cut off some of the unnecessary bills. But I'm not saying that you have to cut it to the extent that you are going to be miserable in life. No, because especially when we are having financial crisis, and all of us are going through this, cost of living crisis, all of us are going through these challenges. We also have to make ourselves happy. So you cut off some of the discretionary bills, which is the things that you can afford to cut them off, but at the same time try to make yourself happy. So I have explained how one may want to be able to cut their debts. Obviously, if you are using electricity and gas, most times we may even forget to leave our gas on, we go to work, it's on for 24 hours. We need to be managing some of these things. We probably have to turn off the boiler when we are going to work, and then when we come back home, we turn it back on. That saves you gas, that saves you electricity. If the TV is on and you have turned the TV off, probably you have to turn it off from the switch. That saves you some electricity. So if you do all these things, you end up cutting down your cost of electricity and cutting down your gas. That way, if you have that problem, you are managing your bills to the extent that it will also help to reduce your debt. But above all, somebody is calling me, please, I'm live, so if you want to wait for me to finish, then of course I will be able to answer your calls. Now, but above all, there are also charity organizations such as Fuel Bank or Energy Bank. And I'm sure if you go to Google, you'll find that we have all of them around us, even British Gas, they have some stuff in place for those of you who have pay as you go. It doesn't matter. Some of these things, they are not going to check your residence in the UK. The fact that you need help, these charity organizations are not home office offices. They are there to support people. They are there to help people. So if you approach them, if you check and you're having difficulty topping up your gas, your electricity, these energy banks are there. Just as we have food bank, they are also there to provide support. So tonight I'm taking my time to explain those of you who are having enormous difficulties or challenges, financial crisis. Sorry, I don't know why I love using the word financial crisis, because this is something that I did my thesis on when I was doing my master's in finance in 2008. But tonight I'm talking about cost of living crisis. So pardon me if I keep on using this word. So you realize that gradually I'm giving you some advice in terms of how you can manage your debts, in terms of how you can save costs, in terms of how you can also receive support, in terms of how you reach out to those areas that can give you either advice, those of you who may want to apply for recourse to public fund because of change of circumstances. Most of our clients, whenever they call me or they call the office and they're having this, we advise them, look, do you know that these challenges that you are facing, it didn't serve as a ground for you to change your circumstances such that you can have recourse to public fund. And of course, I've explained what that can assist you in terms of making sure that you are able to get some support, especially in April when the energy price is going to go up, probably about another 20%. So there is so much to gain if you're able to receive recourse to public fund. But having looked at all these things, I am more attracted to assist those who are having debt crisis. But of course, most of you watching me tonight, it's not all of you that have debt problems. Some of you may also want to look at the fact that currently you may want to look at whether you want to, because of the age that you have gotten to, you may want to save some money in your pension because of the inflation, which means that saving money might not have real value. So you may want to put some of this money in pension. Some of you may want to invest the money because you've been able to, perhaps for one reason or the other, while there's people going through this cost of living crisis, other people are also, some businesses are doing very well, and therefore, whatever you, of course, I have friends and people that I'm aware that they are working in the IT because of the COVID. A lot of things are being done online, and these guys are doing very well. So they may also be considering investing. So it's not everybody that is having debt problem. So I want to quickly shift to those who perhaps want to save or invest or put some money into pension. And obviously after that, I'm going to round up my show for tonight. I know that whenever I'm not talking about immigration, a lot of people are a bit disinterested, but all these things affect our livelihood, and it's important that we also talk about them. And I said that most of these things are not taught in school, so it's important that sometimes we discuss this and people are able to take advantage of it. But before I just round up those of you who are having these debt problems, obviously, if you look at a household, you realize that apart from the energy crisis, which I've already explained where you can get help and what you can do to save some of the costs, which some of them are already familiar to most of you. The other point is that if you enjoy eating so much meat, which is probably more expensive, maybe you might look at switching. I have a friend, one of my childhood friends in Ghana, he has become so healthy, has lost so much weight because he has become a vegetarian. So you might also want to change your, if you are buying so much canned food and it's so expensive because Brexit had made it so expensive because the goods coming from Germany and other countries, the price has gone up. And therefore, you may want to change to plant-based, where you want to look at having some vegetables. It's healthy, it's cheaper, and therefore your budget for feeding might reduce, even though inflation has got to the point that it's so expensive to get some of these groceries. But switching to plant-based meal perhaps may assist most of us not only to be healthy, but to save some money. So if you're having this cost of living crisis, probably you might also look at changing your diet. That makes you feel healthy, be healthy. That makes you to also save costs in terms of the fact that canned meal and meat and all this stuff have become so expensive because of the inflation. The other point is those of us who perhaps may want to save, probably it might not be the right time to save because the value of the money during inflation depreciates. So if you are in your 40s, perhaps self-employed, now government have made it possible for people to put some funds in their pension pot. You may be looking at saving that money in pension. And of course, obviously, if you are in your 40s, then of course, within the next 20 years thereabout, you'll be getting closer to your pension. Perhaps this is an opportunity if you have some funds to put it in the pension because it will protect it. And of course, it's going to, because government is going to match it, the employer is going to match it. So it's a way for you to save some money for the future if you have some of these funds that putting it in your bank account because of inflation, savings might not be quite financially prudent to do. Now, for those of you sometimes who may want to have friends who want to pay off their mortgage quicker, at this point you realize that the mortgage rate is quite high, the interest rate is quite high. So probably if you're paying your mortgage quicker, the cost of doing that is much higher. And obviously we all know that when the interest rates get to the point so high, it will eventually, in economics they call it cyclical trough. You realize that when it goes up, eventually it will come down, just that we have, and if it comes down, eventually it will go up. So I remember in 2020, I was saying that this is the time that people need to tide in because the interest rates came so low. For some of us, our lifespan, that is the time that it came so low. And obviously, I was surprised people thought that it was going to remain like that, because it's obviously whenever interest rate goes so low, it will eventually go up. That's how those of us who have studied economics will probably be familiar if you look at the Great Depression in the 1930s, and eventually these things improve. So maybe you may look at an alternative way of putting money in government ISA. There are a lot of facilities there that if you put money there, it will probably assist in yielding more returns than perhaps hurrying up to pay your mortgage quicker. So tonight I have taken my time to look at those who are facing that problem, those who are making a lot of money, how they can also, what they can do to yield more returns on their excess funds. So at this point, I'm going to open the phone lines and also advertise CITI Law Solicitors, which is the proud sponsor of this show. So you see that tonight, it has not just been about law, it has been about your finance as well. This is what CITI Law Solicitors brings to you. So I'm going to take short moment and advertise CITI Law Solicitors, which is the sponsor of this wonderful show, proudly brought to you by the CITI. So, as I've said, this program has been sponsored by CITI Law Solicitors. If you want to find us, we are embarking Unit 113 and 122 Barking Enterprise Center, 58 Cambridge Road, Barking, IG 11 8FJ. In excess. So if you want to get to us, you can. If you are coming from Airport, there is bus 123. If you are coming from Canning Town, bus 115. If you are coming from Romford, you have the 115 also coming. If you are coming from North London, we have the train from Gospel Oak to Barking. Most people don't know that there's a train from Gospel Oak coming from South Tottenham all the way to Barking. It's just about 30 minutes or less. You'll be in Barking. If you are coming from North London, we have either another line to London Bridge, and you take the Jubilee line to West Ham, and eventually you end up in Barking. So that's where we are. If you want to come to us, this is where you find us. Our office number, please, I urge most of you to take the office number. I know that I love to talk to most of you, but sometimes the schedule of the day is such that it might not be possible. But of course, my learned colleagues are very willing to assist. We are there to serve you guys. So if you can take the office number, if you call me, you didn't get hold of me, please call the office number. And I'm sure my learned colleagues, they are there to also assist. Our office number is 020-3355-0782. 020-3355-0782. That is the office number. So please take note of this office number. I'm just going to go through the areas that we practice. We specialize in immigration. Most of you are aware that we endeavor to do the best. We strive to do the best to make sure that you get the best from CITI Law Solicitors. And quite interestingly, this morning when I wake up, I was just lying on the bed and I was just thinking, and something flashed my mind. And I realized that most of the clients coming to CITI Law Solicitors, they are mainly coming via referrals from existing clients. Isn't this a testament of our first-class service to clients and getting good results for these clients? And that is something that came to my mind this morning when I was lying down. So in CITI Law Solicitors, we strive to do our best. We know the challenges all of us are going through. And of course, we want to be part of your success. Nothing gives us so much joy when our clients win their cases and they get the best, or they actualize their dreams or their goals of coming to us for assistance. So if you have any immigration problem and you need help, we'll give you honest advice. Say that if you can assist, we'll tell you. If there are complications, we'll tell you. We specialize in numerous areas under the immigration law. Those of you who have businesses, you can testify. We'll be doing licenses for you to be able to recruit from abroad. Those of you who want to come on the skilled worker program, we also assist you. Those of you who are still doing EU late applications, or those of you who want to get indefinite leave to remain or continue to get retained right, we are there. Those of you who want to naturalize or register your children, we are there to assist you. So those of you even seeking asylum, we are there to assist. So you see that CITI Law Solicitors, we cover all areas of the immigration law. Employment, those of you who have been unfairly dismissed, who have been discriminated at the workplace, bullying and harassment, we are also here to assist you, and especially with our employment cases done on no fee basis. We only pursue the cases that we think that they are worth our time. So we will not waste your time. Neither will we waste our time. If we assess the case and the case has merit, we'll take it up, we'll work, we'll win that case for you. It's only at that stage that we'll get a token of what you have been paid. Family law, those of you who perhaps are going through family challenges and want to have child arrangement order in place, if you have suffered domestic abuse and you want us to assist you, I always say that domestic abuse now is a criminal offense under the Domestic Abuse Act. So people should be very careful. If somebody has made allegation against you and you're being dragged to the family court, you might end up in prison. So you need to seek proper legal advice. We are there to assist you. Not only those who are going through divorce, which of course we are here to also assist them. And those of you who want to put cohabitation agreement in place to stabilize your relationship. I've done most of these shows on this platform. You can go and watch it. We are also here to assist. Personal injury and clinical negligence, if you have suffered or had an accident at the workplace that was not your fault, at the shop floor that is not your fault. Again, we do most of these cases on no fee basis. We only take up the cases that we feel that has merit, that can be successful if you take it to the court. Commercial dispute and civil litigation, if somebody is owing you and you want us to pursue the person, we are here to assist. Housing law, if you have a housing disrepair problem, if you are being evicted unlawfully from your house, again, we are here to assist. Consumer law, where the insurance claim has been declined. Insurance companies will always want to write a lot of claims. We are here to also assist you with your consumer law matters. And above all, or the last and then the least, media and entertainment law. We are also here to help you to protect your knowledge. Those of you who are into singing, those of you who are into entertainment and media, we are also here to assist all of you. Now, please, so if you have missed any of this show or part of this program, or you have found it very exciting, you can watch it again, or if you find it very insightful, you can watch it again, because this program is recorded. It will be on the CITI Media TV, Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, CITI Law Solicitors. You can continue to watch this program. You can watch it again. And you can also share it with your friends and family members. If anybody has any question with what I have discussed, I'm coming to the end of this show. You are free to phone in. If you have a contribution, you are free to also do that. But under our disclaimer, everything that I have discussed here is for guidance only. And therefore, if you want to seek financial advice, please make sure that you seek independent financial advice. But of course, I have given guidance on most things that I've discussed here. But under our disclaimer, it is for guidance only. And for that reason, if you need proper legal advice, you can get yourself a qualified lawyer to assist you. If you have no lawyer and you want us to assist you, you are more than welcome to contact CITI Law Solicitors. So please, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I'm very grateful for all of you who have joined us. And before I go, I don't want to forget you. Let me just acknowledge those who have been watching me tonight, because it's important that I acknowledge you. I haven't done that. I have Tafik, who is watching, and 3 others. I have Sheila Ajoa. Sheila Ajoa is a good job, Thomas. Thank you. I'm flattered. Sheila Ajoa, thank you so much. Oh, I have Kofi Lancaster, the chief himself. He says, Sons of Bakus. That's a good one. Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much. We have not been able to talk. You called me. I couldn't speak to you. And then I also called you. I could have Ernestina Kari, who is always giving me a clap. Thank you so much. You are more or less administrator of this show. And I have many more that I have not been able to acknowledge, because I didn't do that while the program was ongoing. But obviously, if you are here watching me, you can still put a comment, and I'm going to acknowledge you. And I want to thank all of you who have been part of this show. Please, tomorrow, which is Wednesday, MC Chaka will be here. We are going to discuss the same program, whatever I have discussed tonight, in Twi language, so that all of us can benefit. And then next week we'll also bring to you another topic, all in a way of assisting all of us through all these challenges and helping to solve our legal problems, helping to solve our financial problems. This is what this platform is for. And we are going to have resource persons who are also going to be part of this team, all in the name of assisting members who have joined this laudable platform, proudly sponsored by CITI Solicitors. Thank you so much, and God bless you for joining us tonight. God bless you.